Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. It's sunny and beautiful in Buffalo, which is something that's a change. And I have to say, Russ, people are going banana sandwich here because tickets, at least the early bird special for tickets for the Blue Jays in Buffalo went on sale today. And then tomorrow it goes to the general public. And a friend of mine got tickets for me and a couple other friends for an Astros game in early June, which is fine. But the game, variable pricing blows. It really does. They're charging $60 to $100 a ticket for Miami, Baltimore, Houston. For the Yankees, the lowest ticket's $120.
Oh my God.
$120 to $200
for a baseball game.
For one, and I want to see, because it's like Paul McCartney in Buffalo. It's a one-time thing. The Yankees are never playing here again in a game that counts.
No, I get it, but they're really just gouging it. Now, if they were allowed to fill the place, it wouldn't be that high. I get
right, that. And get this. I just for crap and giggles, I went to StubHub to see how much they're being marked up already. Minimum $300. I'm not paying that.
No, I get it. So, a couple of things. So, there's a guy, Tommy Hunter. He's a reliever in baseball. He's been around a while.
Former Atlanta Brave. Yep.
Yeah, Phillies, a bunch of teams. He did get to bat yesterday in a game, and he got a base hit. And it was the first hit he's ever gotten. And when he was on first base, he was practically doing a jig. He was talking to Freddie Freeman because he was a former Brave, and Freeman was kidding with him, and he was like laughing, like, I don't know how this happened. They were having a whole conversation. After the game, Hunter said, he couldn't believe he effing got a base hit in the major leagues. And he didn't say the F word, but he minded it. And he was like a giddy kid at 34. And this is the reason why you don't do away with the DH in the NL, because these guys are athletes and they do like to hit. There's a few that don't. There's a few that certainly don't want to get up there. But I'm telling you, that is not the majority. It's more of fans are asking for this. Players are not asking for this in the NL.
No, and I think we've firmly determined that Rob Manfred is the devil, because he constantly. I mean, I hate the extra inning bull crap. The runner on second base. Do I think they're going to keep it? They're probably going to keep it, and I hate it, but they're going to keep it because they don't want 5-hour games. But yeah, you could give a 5-hour 9-inning game between the Red Sox and the Yankees. There's nothing you can do about that unless you put a clock on the pitcher.
Yeah, and Bill says he thinks 95% don't want to hit. That is way off. Trust me.
No, see, the thing is, 95% of the pitchers can't hit, but there is a strategy there. If they can bunt, if they can move the runner, if they can hit a fly ball.
Plus, there's also this. If you think the guy can't hit and you play the infield in and he decides he could do the swinging fence routine and get a hit, that happens too.
Yeah. Now,
you can bring up the second part of this.
Okay, so there is a converted catcher DH last name of Mercedes, who's, we're over 6 weeks into the season. The guy's still hitting in the high 300s. He came out of nowhere. I think he's out of Cuba. Came out of nowhere, and he is hitting better than Jose Abreu, who's the reigning AL MVP. So the White Sox are playing the Twins, and it's 15-4 late in the game, and Mercedes is up, and there's a non-pitcher on the mound, because they've exhausted their bullpen. And this guy throws like a 35-mile-an-hour knuckleball on a 3-0 count, and Mercedes cranks it into the left field seats.
Mm-hmm.
And after the game, Tony La Russa made comments regarding Mercedes and hitting the home run, and said that is against sort of the spirit of baseball.
And he called him clueless.
Yeah, so it's like
he actually called him clueless. He goes, he's a rookie and he's clueless, and we're going to take care of this.
Right.
And I really shuddered. I kind of was like, what are you going to do to this guy inside your organization when you said that? What do you mean?
Well, I think he's going to say I think what he's saying, at least I hope what he's saying, is he's going to educate him on what you do and not do at certain points in the game. And I've seen this is the thing. I've seen a lot of comments from people, and, a lot of people that I respect who think that La Russa is a fuddy-duddy and that he's, that his way is past. But honestly, it's like, okay, the game is out of hand at that point. I mean, I know that it's possible to come back from 11 runs down, but at that point, when you've put in an infielder or an outfielder as a pitcher, the game is over with. You just want to get it over with.
No, but you know what? No, that's not true, because this guy fought to get to the majors. He has a right to take cuts like everybody else. If you're telling me all of a sudden he's got to keep the bat on his shoulders, no, that's baloney. La Russa's an idiot. La Russa he actually apologized to the Twins, not to his own player for embarrassing him.
Right. He thinks that what Mercedes did was against the gentleman.
He thinks, and you know what? Jerry Reinsdorf should be ashamed of himself for just letting La Russa do this and run roughshod over this guy, because, again, 47-mile-an-hour pitches are not the easiest pitches to hit out of the park. No. Actually, there's only been a couple in the last 4 or 5 years, to be honest. Right. That's the other thing about this.
I can never hit a 47-mile-an-hour. I can't even throw a 47-mile-an-hour.
No, but the idea is it's the momentum, right? If a guy's throwing you 47, it's all you hitting it out. If he's throwing 95 and you happen to catch it right, he's helped you. The pitcher has helped you with that exit velocity. But again, I don't care too much about the unwritten rules of baseball. There's a couple. I thought what A-Rod did was a little league move when he's yelling, "I got it," when he's on the bases to a player who's in the field. I thought that stepped over the line. This, La Russa is way over the line. He's an embarrassment. That's all.
He may be an embarrassment, but I don't think he's wrong on this.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. I know. And it's right. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, May 19th, 2021.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Lagello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, so let's start with the games from last night. Some game twos in 3 of the best of 7 series. Couple went the same way. Well, one went the same way as game 1. The other 2, the teams evened up at 1-1. Let's start with the early game, which was the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. Penguins win 2-1. Brian Rust scores and Jeff Carter scores. 2 of the guys I have in my fantasy hockey pool. Thank you very much.
We didn't even have Rust if it weren't for me, as much as I brought him up on the show. You know it, and I know it.
That's a complete lie. Of course, I'm taking Brian Rust. But okay, this is the thing. In this game, after a questionable performance in game 1, I thought Tristan Jarry was very good. Was very steady.
He was excellent.
And he's like, okay, I get. The NBCSN has to show the replay package over and over. Well, he got beat high glove on this one. He got beat high glove. It's like, okay. And, he got beat high glove on Josh Bailey's goal. I'm like, there were maybe 5 goalies in the world who could have stopped that shot. So would you friggin' let it go?
But here's the thing. If you remember, and again, none of us are goalie experts, but we've watched goalies over the years, and I've talked to people who know. And the one thing that I felt was that Jarry could make a tweak so that he's just not going to give up that high glove every time. And because he was stopping everything else, right? We all agreed in the crease, down low, where it counted, he was really good. And he was really good there again. He did make a tweak, and he talked about it post-game. And what he was doing was standing taller. And he was trying to smother it with his chest. And so, yeah, you know what? He had a strategy, and that's what I was basically trying to tell everybody who was overreacting to the fact that he was getting beat glove high. And it's the same thing as, when I say for Nedeljkovic, he's going to have to come up with that same thing if he has that problem too. But the idea is Jarry's a little bit more of a pro than Nedeljkovic at this point as far as playing in NHL games. That's to do it on the fly is not the easiest thing, and I give Jarry great credit for doing it.
Yeah, and if you've noticed, I know you had a goal in game 1, but there hasn't really been a dominant performance by Sidney Crosby in either one of these 2 games. But he did make a great play, saving a goal, knocking.
And that was his play right there.
Yeah, but so he did contribute. But I think
Jeff Carter again. If you notice that goal, he was heading to the net.
Yeah, and he did this.
He's a big deal for this team.
He did a really savvy thing. He's coming out in front of the net, going left to right, and then he throws the puck behind him and hits the corner. Now, I have to say, and I said this before the game, I understand Varlamov is your number one. I really do. Yeah, because I've advocated that all year. But you won game one with Sorokin. So now you've lost game two with your number one. Do you stick with Varlamov, which I think they will, or do they go back to Sorokin? It's like, I think if they lost this game and Sorokin was in net, then you can go back to Varlamov and say, okay, there's the number one goaltender. We're back with him. Now it's like there's a question, even though I think they're going to go stay with Varlamov.
There's a question. I mean, he gave up a bad goal. There's no question about that. You could chalk it up to a million things. I think every goalie in this tournament, except for Vasilevsky, has probably given up a bad goal already. Mm-hmm. So I think they are going to go right back to Varlamov. That's not really the problem yet. The problem with the Islanders is getting scoring when you need it. Guys like Jordan Eberle, there's guys that just aren't doing it. And that shot by Bailey was a prayer. Josh Bailey isn't going to be able to do that backhand shot every game. So he gave you a little boost there, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and again, I keep coming back to it. I mean, I know they scored 4 goals in game one, but in this game, Pittsburgh tightened up their defense, and the Islanders really had no answer. And I'm sorry, it's like the shadow of the inability to score goals is still on that Islander team.
And you know what? When the Gensel line is out there, they had at least 2 or 3 2-on-1s. Because of that extra speed that they have.
I saw there was one segment when we were talking last night where the Penguins, and I think it was the Bluger line, the Penguins had the Islanders trapped in the zone for easily 90 seconds. It was 5
minutes. It was a long time.
And they were cycling, and they could not get the puck away from the Penguins. And they're doing this without Malkin, which is right. Now the question is, they're going back to
the Dumoulin will look good. That helped them.
Dumoulin, yeah, coming, and he was, him being mobile after taking that shot off of his leg was a big thing. I mean, he didn't look like he was really hampered that much. So,
no.
All right, the second game, which I was going back and forth on until Tampa got a 2-0 lead, and then I sort of faded into the work until it got a little closer. But Tampa and Florida, this game was nowhere close to being as exciting and as on point as game one. And I think that what you said after game one in terms of Florida missing out on a big opportunity really came to roost in this game because, to my mind, Tampa took control early, didn't relinquish it even after Mason Marchment scored in the second period. And, I was a big Mason Marchment fan with the Marlies and the Leafs. I thought he was an NHL player. He hasn't had a big year or anything like that, but I think he's a big-bodied NHL player. He can score the occasional goal, and the Leafs gave him up for Dennis Malgin, who's done nothing. So I don't understand that deal. But so he scores a goal and it's 2-1. But really, I didn't think that there was much of a threat that the Panthers had in the third period. In that game.
There wasn't. The biggest thing in that game was, basically, Tampa can roll their first line as many times as they want because Stamkos looks fresh. And who do we say was on the top pairing for Florida? Gustav Forsling and
Weegar.
I mean, they're going to get beat every time.
Yeah.
Whoever is the unlucky guy that has Braden Point coming down on their end, he's getting behind you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. And I told you this last night, and I'll say it again. And I understand. I really do. I understand that an NHL team cannot adopt this philosophy. But when you lose your number one defenseman, it's like losing your number one goaltender. When you lose and you lose Ekblad like a couple weeks before the trading deadline and you don't replace him, it's over. You're not winning anything. Now, I don't expect you to quit. I expect you to try, and they are trying. But anybody, and I'm sorry, Ek picked the Panthers. I don't know how anybody picks the
Well, that was unfortunate.
Yes, that was a unfortunate set of circumstances. But I mean, it's like, I'm sorry. It's like, I mean, you're talking about a team that won the cup last year that was dominant. It's basically the same team. In fact, they may be better with David Savard on the blue line. You know, you've got Pat Maroon doing the chicken dance after the period, calling.
That's how loose they felt.
Well, yeah, and he wouldn't be doing that if they thought that there would be any repercussions, or he's trying to goad them into stupid penalties.
Yeah,
so
I mean, look, and this is the final pronunciation for this year for Dreger in there.
Calling him Dredger, sorry,
because it changes all. It was Dredger when he was on the Calgary Hitmen, but whatever. It's Dreger.
Caberlet, you know.
Yeah, it's Dreger, and he was pretty good, but
yeah,
they are noticing that there's a difference between him and Bob post to post. Bob is faster post to post than Dreger, and he was pinged against his one side that one time on one of the goals. Remember, he could not get back. And
but Dredger is bigger. He's bigger,
and so he covers more net.
Right.
But if you do get him moving side to side, that is a big key. And I think Tampa's just getting warmed up. Honestly, that's how dangerous they are.
Yeah, they I don't think they were on completely in game one, and they luckily, you know, responded and were able to come back and win that game, pulled it out. And then this is the team. They're a machine. They have the best goalie in the world. They have, you know, Kucherov rested and healthy. Stamkos rested and healthy, and they're 4 lines deep. They're going to be a tough out. I mean,
I don't think they're going to go back to Bob. I think Quenneville gave Bob his game so he doesn't take the criticism.
Right.
Quenneville's playing his guy, and he's going to go down with his guy.
Right. Yeah, I agree. The late game was Vegas and Minnesota, and I watched about 2 periods of this.
It's hard to stay awake, man.
Oh, and it's not because I'm an old fart. It's
because that style of game, it's brutal.
And you know what? After you said something when we were analyzing game one, I paid more attention to it in this game. Vegas is painfully slow.
Really slow.
They're big. They're intimidating. But they're slow. I mean, how many, Keegan Colasars and Ryan Reeves do you need on this team? A guy like
Marchessault is another big guy.
A guy like Marchessault who can skate.
Colasar skates a little better than the other guys you mentioned, but yeah.
Yeah, but Marchessault is probably the fastest guy on that team.
Yes.
He stood out because he can actually skate. The rest of them are sort of lumbering around.
Yeah.
And in this game, Minnesota played the same game that they played in game one, and they got the lead instead of an overtime midway through the second period. Dumba on a point shot that Fleury didn't see.
Dumba looked a little injured, but he had a great game. So.
And Marchessault comes back 18 seconds later to tie it, and you could just feel the oxygen in the lungs of the Wild just come out, because if they could have held on that lead and put the pressure on Vegas more, I think that they would have a chance to go back 2-0 to Minnesota. But Marchessault scores.
They needed to go back 2-0 to Minnesota to win that series. They did.
Yeah, and then Tuck scored the game winner late in the second period. And at that point, I said when I think it was when Dumba scored, it says, next goal, I'm going to bed. And then Marchessault scored. And I'm like, I guess not.
Well, think about the irony here. Like, going into that draft, I was super high on Alex Tuck, and I think he's become exactly what I thought he would be, and that's good for him and for me, going out on a limb with him. But he did it against the team that drafted him.
Yeah.
The team that gave him up.
The team that gave
him draft.
The team that gave him up to get rid of a contract. To get rid of a contract.
So if you don't think that's satisfying for him, it was.
Oh yeah. And I mean, Vegas is roster is strewn with those guys. You've got Carlson, you've got Riley Smith, they got Marlo, Halla, Tuck. I mean, Halla's on
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's not there anymore.
He's on Carolina, but he was when they got him, and they got him.
Then. Yeah, he's on Carolina.
So I mean, but I mean, they won without Pacioretty in the lineup. So I mean, that
bodes well.
That bodes well, and if he comes back, I don't know I didn't hear anything in terms of the extent of the injury or what the reason why.
Me neither. And Fleury looked good.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been he's allowed, I think it was 2 goals on 72 shots. I mean, you can't do much better than that.
Leonard's got to be like, what do I have to do?
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
At least he got paid.
I was gonna say he got paid, and Fleury's a UFA after next year.
Right.
So, you can okay, I don't know if you want to trade him, but if you're having cap issues, you can trade him now, and there will be people who want him because he'll be a 1-year guy. I mean, okay, Marc-Andre Fleury on the market. The Boston Bruins are paying Tuukka Rask $7 million. Tuukka Rask decides he's going to retire. You think the Boston Bruins would be interested in Marc-Andre Fleury for a year?
I think the Toronto Maple Leafs would want Marc-Andre Fleury.
Well, the $7 million would be a problem for him, but
they can work it out. They might be able to eat some, who knows?
Right, or take a contract back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but they would be interested. There's 4 or 5 teams that would go after him in a heartbeat. It is an interesting thing how it was almost a fait accompli that he was gone, and now he's the guy that's leading them again. And who knows? Yeah, the cap makes you do weird things. That's all.
Yeah. We'll take some questions in the chat after we talk about some of the games tomorrow and a couple other things. The Vancouver Canucks situation, Russ.
Let's chat about this.
Yeah, okay. If you thought the Buffalo Sabres were dysfunctional, the Vancouver Canucks just said, hold my beer.
Yep.
And this is the thing. It's ironic. These are the 2 teams that came into the NHL in 1970 at the same time. So 51 seasons and no Stanley Cups. At least they've both appeared in 2. And we were talking about this. It's like, the only team right now that has a longer drought in terms of winning a Stanley Cup is the Leafs. These 2 teams never have won, and the Leafs haven't won since '67. But at least the Leafs had won in the past, and some other teams have won, and these teams got to Stanley Cup finals. But the frustration of not being able to win has a chilling and a crippling effect on franchises. And I think that's at the heart of what's going on in Vancouver right now. Now, let me just lay out. Elliot Friedman tweets last night, and I'll quote it directly. Not sure what to expect for a timeline of announcements from the Canucks, but word tonight is Jim Benning was given indication in the last 24 hours that he is to return. Okay, so if we take Elliot at gospel, which I do, Benning is back.
Right.
Travis Green is in limbo. He's up at the end of his contract is up at the end of the season. He doesn't know. He hasn't had an extension. I don't even think he's had talks.
No, he's had talks. There was Sportsnet posted that most of the discussion is about money at this point.
Okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Over the last couple days, I know Elliot and Jeff Merrick talked about it on 31 Thoughts about Jeff Courtnall coming in to be some sort of sounding board advisor to the Aquilinis. And then yesterday, Russ, we heard, the Sedin twins.
They're coming back in some form.
Okay. What is that?
I don't know.
I mean,
this is what teams do when they feel like they just want to bring back these players that were good for them and hope that they could help the team, and they like hanging around them. So they're going to enjoy having the Sedins there. And this is just sort of like, hey, this is going to be fun. They're back. And yes, the media will love it for a couple days. But here's the other things going on. So with Green, it's about money. Okay, that could go either way. I thought he might get fired this year if they were underperformed. Turns out they did underperform, but it was mostly, I would say it's half COVID, half they probably were on a bad track anyhow. And so things are shaky. He can't ask for a ton. But at this point, they have to look out in the market and see they're not bringing back Torts. They're not hiring Babcock. So just who would they be hiring in place of him? And so I think he does have to come back. And so I think they should come to terms, but who knows? I mean, this is the Canucks. But here's the other startling thing that came out today. So Thatcher Demko basically put it out there that he would like to see Ian Clark return, that he said he basically is I owe just about everything to him. And Ian Clark is a top goaltending coach, always has been. He has a goaltending school. I've known about him for a long time. And the fact that your future number one is saying, please bring him back, just the fact that it's a question mark at this point, even if you're the Aquilinis and you weren't sure if you were going to bring him back, you pretty much should bring him back based on what your top goalie wants, especially since he's still young and impressionable. And just imagine if they don't bring him back now.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching staff situation is in chaos. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Green. If Green has the opportunity to go to Seattle, to go to other teams, he might, because unless the talks are further along when it comes to a new deal. If Benning is locked in place, then that pretty much, keeps the status quo. But okay, as good as Benning has been in terms of drafting people, he's been a disaster in terms of trades and in terms of signings. You look at for next year, or just briefly looking at next year, you've got Brock Besser under contract for one more year at $5.8 million. That was a bridge deal. I think he's 2 years away from unrestricted free agency after next season. So he's going
to sign another 2-year bridge.
Right. If they don't want to sign him to the long-term deal, which
I don't even know if he wants to at this point. Right. That's why I think it's going to be a 2-year bridge.
And that's the thing with Pettersson, with Hughes, especially. I think they're going to want to sign bridge deals because the money right now is tight in the NHL,
and they want bigger money when it happens.
And they want bigger money further down the line, so they'll wait. They'll get a good amount on a 2-year bridge deal, and they'll bide their time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they have good contracts in terms of Horvat and Miller. 2 more years at over 5.5 and 5.25. Those are good. Yeah. I've heard some criticism of the Tanner Pearson deal that they just signed 3 years at 3.2, 3.25. I think that's reasonable for a guy who's a second, third liner. What kills them are Beagle at 3, Roussel at 3, Sven Barchi, he's a UFA after this year, but he was 3.3, which was a bad deal. The Virtanen situation right now is a complete cloud because we don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, he's being investigated, and there's accusations there we're not going to go into, but we're just talking about on the ice. He's got another year, 2.5. They could terminate that contract if the situation is, if it's revealed that he did something untoward. Like I said, we don't know what's going on there. But the most important thing is Pettersson is up RFA. You've got Hughes up RFA, and you've got Edler, who, when he's not kneeing people, is still an effective defenseman in his 30s. I don't know if he's coming back for less than the $6 million he's making right now. So they're in a real situation.
They are. I mean, I have a feeling with all these things up in the air, like a guy like Besser, he's not going to go into the deep end. Like you said, I don't think any of them are going into the deep end. Jack Rathbone will join the team next year. Played a little this year. That's fine. Maybe they keep Gadjevich up and hope that he's Tom Wilson. Fine.
Can they give up on the dream of getting Trey Macon from the KHL? The big.
No, that's over. Like that's done. That was they had their one shot, and so he's over. They're in a tough spot because they don't have a lot of cap space, and they have these young guys that they at some point have to sign, and they're going to have to make moves in the offseason, and you don't know who the coach is, and now they're going to bring in a bunch of new people, and I don't know. It doesn't look good. We do have some breaking news, though.
Go ahead.
Megan Duggan has been hired for a newly created role of manager of player development in hockey ops for the Devils. And this is a really good move because I've interviewed Megan many times. She captained the women's U.S. team many years. I mean, I want to say maybe even for like 5 to 10. She always seemed to be the captain. And so winning gold medals, playing in all those world championships, being a world-class player, a lot of experience there. And she's very relatable, smart. So I think this is a really good hire by the Devils because they do need to bolster their hockey ops. And so this is good.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I don't know whether this is the case. I mean, earlier in the week, Haley Wickenheiser was promoted to basically the head of player personnel with the Leafs, senior director of player personnel, and they added Danielle Goyette as part of the player personnel department, player development, excuse me. And I hope, and I would think that if Megan Duggan is taking a role with the Devils, it's a consequential role. That it's not like just, she's Megan Duggan and this is,
I don't think she would take that kind of role because
I hope
with all those teams she's played on, Olympics and otherwise, she's made some money. So I don't think she's doing it like for that.
I really hope that these organizations are not hiring these people because it looks good because, okay, they're women. I hope they're giving, because they're capable people, and I think that they can handle these responsibilities and they can provide some aspect of, doing a quality job. And I hope it's just not like an ambassador type of thing. And because I think that would really suck. But
I don't think it's the case.
Now, just looking at this, going back to the Canucks for a second, you buy out Antoine Roussel. $1.7 million cap hit next year, $633 the following year on a $3 million salary that spreads it out, but he only saved $1.3 million. So that's not a great saving. I'm looking at what's his name? Beagle.
Mm-hmm.
Now Beagle was on the IR at the end of the year, so he might not be able to be bought out. $2.2 million for first year, $400,000 second year, and they have Ferland, who's on LTIR, who may never play again because of I think it's concussions.
Gee, Mike, was that a bad signing?
No, it was a great signing for Ferland.
Again, I think you and I questioned that signing, and we were wondering why would they even risk it when he was a risky guy to begin with? Like that was just dumb.
Because he was a unicorn. He was a big guy who could skate, and if he could stay healthy,
with a history of injuries.
But if he could stay healthy, then he would be that Western answer to Tom Wilson. But of course, he couldn't stay healthy. So, yeah, I mean, there is no out there for those guys. Maybe they can bribe Seattle to take one of them.
Maybe.
But that only clears $3 million.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like that only clears $3 million. With Louis Eriksson's contract, I think it expires this year. I'm just looking here. No, he's got one more. Okay, so Louis Eriksson, the gift that keeps on giving. Louis Eriksson has another year at $6 million.
It's one of the most brutal contracts there's been in a long time.
Well, that free agent year was an unmitigated disaster for every team that bought in. Oppozo, Lucic, Eriksson.
But this one was particularly bad. We could give the Sabres a little bit of a pass on Okposo based on injuries.
Franz Nielsen, David Backes, every single one was a
Backes. He knew he had a history of injuries. Nielsen was surprising. None of us expected him to fall off like that.
He dropped like a stone.
Nobody expected that. But Louis Eriksson was already showing wear before they got him, and they literally just got him to play with the Sedins.
Boston, he was good with Boston, 7 years ago? Yeah. And even at that point, Boston said, okay, we're not going to sign him to a long-term extension.
No, he was already slow and
slowing down.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. But okay, so games tonight. Hey, wow, Canucks and Flames again.
It's the game that You know, Mike, in case you haven't seen enough Canucks and Flames, you get one more crack at it.
Jesus Christ. And it's like these secret games at 3. You turn your computer on at 7:00 and the game's already over with. Yeah, it's a 3. So the final game of the regular season is taking place while 3/4 of the NHL has already played at least one game in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
What's your point, Mike?
No, I don't have a point. Okay, but the games of consequence. We have 4 games tonight. Capitals Bruins moves to TD Garden in Boston. Series is tied 1-1. I saw a report that TJ Oshie was not skating.
Oh boy.
Now, okay, Eller is out. I don't know anything what's going on with Kuznetsov. There was COVID. There was also a disciplinary situation, so we don't know about that. We don't know about Samsonov yet. I would assume, because Oshie did play some center during the year, that Oshie would probably fill in if Eller couldn't go, because, like we said yesterday, I think Nick Dowd was their number 2 center after.
All right, actually, so the only one not on the ice, Mike, is Vanacek. Eller, Samsonov, Kuznetsov, all on the ice.
But Oshie is not.
Oshie is not.
Okay. So Kuznetsov is probably stepping in, and I would assume
he's getting in there.
If Samsonov is on the ice, he's going to play.
Yeah, Oshie didn't skate.
Skate. Now maybe he plays. Maybe there's maintenance. Yeah. That's very possible. But the Capitals are coming into the game 3 dinged. Like, some of their key players are clearly not going to be 100%. Now, nothing is happening with Boston in that respect. I think Jeremy Lawson is the only one that has any kind of injury issue. They went with Connor Clifton in game 2. So I'm assuming they're going to stay with the same lineup that won in game 2. So again, I picked the Bruins in this series. I think it's going to go back and forth. I mean, if Ovechkin has a big game, if Kuznetsov comes off of his,
and Connor McMichael was called up.
Like you and Joe Yerdon both said. So
yeah, and Brett Leeson and Paul Ledoux and Alexander Alexeyev, who again,
yes, first round.
Okay, but they're staying in DC, so they're not. So they're not going to be in tonight's game. But after a couple days of skating, I could see McMichael getting in there.
Yeah, that's their. Now that means Hershey is done, because obviously there's. I mean, the AHL, the Calder Cup. The AHL was not having a playoffs, at least in 3 of the 4 divisions. Don't ask me why one division is having a playoffs. It's bizarre, but anyway.
So just so you know, Stephen Wino said that Kuznetsov and Samsonov were in COVID protocol. Now they're out of it, so that was the reason they're saying for Kuznetsov.
Okay.
Not that they're unhappy with him or he has disgraced the Washington Capitals or anything like that, Mike.
Do we believe that? Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. I would assume that if they're on the ice and they're out of protocol, that they're going to play.
They're going to play.
Yeah, they're going to play. Game 2, Predators Hurricanes. Hurricanes dominated dominated the third period after I think a little bit of a slow start and keeping the Predators in the game. I don't know. This is the one. I mean, I think the 2 series that had the least amount of drama are going to be playing tonight. This one and St. Louis, Colorado. But do they stay with Saros? Probably, because I don't know if
they don't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Pekka Rinne can do it anymore, and I just don't know. I mean, this was pointed out by Joe yesterday. Yossi and Ekholm they played over 20 minutes and they were both -3. I mean, if you can't get your top pairing to shut down the other team, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, it was brutal. So yesterday, you're going to like this. Sabretooth Sports and Entertainment announced the development of a new ice center in Sumner County, which is great. That means they're growing the sport. And where did they announce it, Mike? At the Goat Farm. Well, it's Nashville.
Okay.
But, hey, we have a new rink, state-of-the-art rink. Let's go pet some goats. Anyhow, just thought I'd bring that into the show.
I love goat's milk. St. Louis, Colorado. That one goes at 10:30 tonight. The Avalanche, they're the better team.
They are the better team.
I mean, I think Bennington kept the Blues in.
Do we hear anything about Perron?
I haven't heard anything yet. Now McKinnon was dominant in that game. Landeskog beat the crap out of Braden Shen. So
Brandon looked good.
Brandon looked good. I mean, like I said, Bennington kept them in that game for 2 periods. I think the Blues need to have more. Honestly, I think, and maybe the Blues can't do it because they can't catch the Avalanche because the Avalanche are so fast.
That's part of it.
I think the Blues have to play a lot more physically and punish Colorado.
Ron's out again tonight. Sorry.
So I mean, that's their leading scorer. I mean,
they're in trouble.
They're in trouble. I mean, they've got guys like Tarasenko and Hoffman who can.
I mean, O'Reilly's a really good player, but he's not going to win a game for you all by himself. Like, he's just not that guy. Perron can.
And the North Division finally gets going. The Winnipeg
North Division.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, who are they? I forgot about them. Even the player Austin Matthews said on Monday, like, yes, we can use the rest, but we're just after watching games on the weekend.
Yeah, they don't want to rest.
They don't want to rest. They want to get going. They want to play. And the Jets and the Oilers get started at 9:00 tonight. I picked the Oilers in 6, but the thing is, I think that the Jets have a chance if Hellebuyck.
I also picked the Oilers. I don't remember in how many games.
I think you said 6 as well.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the Jets have a chance if Hellebuyck is Hellebuyck, because he's going to have to be really, really good against the Oilers, and not stone McDavid, because I don't think you can just shut him down. Only one team has done that this year. No, if Ehlers comes back, if they have those dominant top 3,
I'm just not feeling it for Winnipeg.
Right. I mean, the thing is, Winnipeg hasn't been that team since they lost 2 straight in Winnipeg to the Leafs about 2 weeks ago, and after that, they seem to lose their mojo. So I don't know. I don't know if they did not play well against Edmonton during the regular season. So I don't know about this series.
Like, Winnipeg just seems like that team that is like adrift in the America's Cup, and if you even know what the America's Cup is, good for you. But if you don't, I don't blame you.
Yes, I always loved sailboats with those secret keels. Like it was like the CIA, the design of the secret keel. It's like
sailing's dumb. Anyhow,
yeah, it's also. It's dumb if Ted Turner was involved in it, because he spent like millions of dollars on friggin' sailboats. It's like, zippity doo dah. We'll take some questions in the chat before we end the show here. Following up on the, let's see, this is a traditional 82 game season. The Jets would have fallen out and the Sens would have made it. I honestly think that was Gannon who said that. I don't know. I mean, I
don't think so, but they got close.
I will, mark this in terms of video. I will give the Sens a lot of credit, and I really like the mix that they have. I mean, okay, you've got Kachuk, you've got Stützle as your young cornerstones. You're going to have Jake Sanderson probably next year or the year after on the blue line. Shabbat is a really good defenseman. You have veteran guys like Connor Brown, who scored 21 goals this year, who had a really great year, who I always thought was going to be a good player, and I hated the Leafs giving him away. You've got guys like Batherson and Josh Norris, young players who have really come along. They're so deep, Russ. If Matt Murray can straighten it out,
that would help a lot. If Matt Murray straightens it out, they get better a lot quicker. But part of it straightening out means their defense is straightened out.
Now here's the interesting thing. I think, and I'll look at Cap Friendly just to make sure. Look at the Seattle expansion tracker, but I believe they have to protect Philip Gustafson, who's a prospect who they got from the Penguins. Yeah, he's not exempt. So, he's only 22 and he's on his ELC. Will they protect him? Will they protect him over Murray making $6 million? They probably will, because he's cheap, Russ. But that doesn't mean they want to lose Murray. But maybe they think that Murray making $6 million for another, I think 6.2 for another.
Yeah, see, I would want to get out of that. I personally would leave him exposed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Murray's got 3 more years at 6.25, and based on the year that I think you're safe in leaving him exposed and nobody picking him up, or maybe Seattle picks him up and they flip him someplace if there's somebody who believes in Matt Murray, which I've always thought Toronto was interested in him. And
I think that's probably past now, though. But
probably.
I would, if I were the Sens, I would look at Joey Decord as the guy. And if Murray gets taken, like, to me, that's a good thing. If Murray gets taken, then you could actually spend that money on some defense. You got a young goalie.
Yeah. El Guapo asks, where do you think Eichel plays next year? I think he's playing in Buffalo.
He's going to start the season in Buffalo. They're going to put up, like, his picture everywhere in the arena, like, static cling-wise.
We love you, Jack.
Please. No, but it's all going to be static clings.
Oh,
because at the trading deadline,
it's all going to be Velcroed. It's like,
that fathead type. And at the deadline, when he gets traded, they'll all be ripped down, and he will get traded, but he'll start the year with them. It wouldn't shock me if the Rangers get in on him.
They'll end up in a dumpster behind the KeyBank Center. I see. Okay, if I do think though, and the Sabres have operated this way for years.
Well, I just want to say this: people could hang those jerseys proudly next to, like, their Drew Bledsoe jerseys. Anyhow, go
ahead. The Sabres. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe wore number 11, which is the same number as Scott Norwood. You think that was a hint of things to come? No, this is the thing. The Sabres have a habit of, when they have a player that is good with their organization, they don't want that guy coming into their building 4 times a year or playing in their division. Or playing in their conference. They usually trade him out west. They did it with Evander Kane. I think they'll end up doing that with Eichel. And when the time comes, I think it's Anaheim and LA that you'll see him maybe.
Trust me, the Rangers are going to try and be in on him.
Well, the Rangers will try.
Oh, they have assets. If they want to do it, they can do it.
Right, exactly. Now, I believe it was Elliot that mentioned this on one of the previous podcasts. Coincidentally, the agent for Eichel is the same agent that represented Chris Drury when Drury was a player, Peter Fish. Yeah, so, I mean, there is that connection, but I do think that, and unless James Dolan is pressing the buttons,
which he could be.
I think they'll play hard to get in terms of, like, I think the Sabres are going to want, like, if it's LA, they're going to want Byfield. If it's Anaheim, they're going to want Zegras. If it's the Rangers, they're going to want Kakko or they're going to want Lafreniere. And
I think they would trade Kakko.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of a package.
Yeah. So I think it's going to happen. That's it. Move on.
Okay. All right. We'll call it.
There's got to be another question, though.
No, I looked. There's
That's
no.
It.
All right. Somebody just said, giant fan here. Thanks, Scott Norwood. Thank you, Gannon. There is a reason why I love to see the Giants lose, and that's one of the reasons.
Mike doesn't harbor any bad feelings.
No, I carry no bitterness, none whatsoever.
Mike, tell us what you were doing at your viewing party that day when that kick was getting ready to be set up.
Okay, I was at my brother's business. He owns a stereo, high-end stereo business in Buffalo called the Speaker Shop. You can go there and buy a nice stereo. And we were watching the game on a big screen TV and surround sound, and which in 1990, 91.
That's a big deal, actually.
That's a big deal. So, and
did you have pizza and wings?
We had pizza, the best pizza in Buffalo, Bocce Club. And when it came down to the moment, I was sitting with my head in my hands, not fearful of watching the kick.
Were you a Norwood fan before the kick?
I had nothing against him. He'd never done.
No, but like, was he one of those kickers that you were like?
No, he was dependent. And here's the unfair criticism of Scott Norwood. that was out of his range.
It was.
It was well. He was from I would say inside the 40. He was golden.
But sometimes you have to, make that, to be great.
That was the fault of the offense and not getting close enough. I mean, that last drive, I think Thurman Thomas, they were preventing them from throwing, and Thurman Thomas ran, I think, 40 yards, because they were handing off the ball because they weren't covering the running back that way.
Yeah, I want to know, did you have any tang at the party?
No, there was no tang.
No tang, okay.
No, and I know Lawrence Taylor probably had some white powder in his locker room, and it wasn't Johnson & Johnson baby powder.
So the kick goes up.
I'm fearful of watching it, and Van Miller says, and it's wide to the right, and I just.
What was this mood at the party like? What was like? What was happening?
You have to realize that my brother is just an older version of me, so the I knew they were going to lose type of thing was
the next chorus.
That was the whole thing. Those sons.
Did the TV get shut off? Like you didn't want to see anything else?
No.
Like you did. You watched it?
No. The funniest reaction was after the third Super Bowl, because the second Super Bowl I decided I was going to watch at home, and that was never even the Redskins kicked their ass, so it was like that game was over in the first quarter. The third one was against Dallas, and everybody thought they were going to beat Dallas, and Dallas destroyed them. And I was at a friend's house, and I was wearing a Bills sweatshirt, and I decided after that,
you light it on fire, Mike.
I walked out into the middle of Richmond Avenue in the city of Buffalo with a lighter, and I took the shirt off and set it on fire and placed it right down in the middle of the street. And there was no traffic because everybody was at home getting drunk. So yes. On that uplifting note, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.